Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the 2010, February 2010 Wenham Board of Selectmen meeting. To begin with, let's see, we just call that to order. A couple of announcements first. We're still accepting letters of interest for the Wenham Day Committee. Everyone hopefully knows what Wenham Day is. Oh, yeah. Used to be sponsored by the museum, and that they've decided not to sponsor it anymore, and we're trying to resurrect it. We didn't have it last year, and we're trying to form a committee that would put on more or less the same presentations and fun that everyone enjoyed. And we're still looking for at least 3 more members of the committee. So far, Diane, Booker, and myself are on the committee, but we don't want to do it by ourselves. It's a lot of work. And that, so anyway, if you appreciate Wenham Day and you have some time, and it would be in August, and that we have a lot of work to do between now and then, and that we appreciate people who want to volunteer for the committee. And the second announcement is that the Wenham Board of Health announces a blood pressure clinic at Town Hall February 12th and March 11th. I don't know why people just don't go out and get a blood pressure cuff. You know, I mean, it doesn't cost that much money. Anyway,
I'll be a professional.
I know some people. It's at 11:30 to 5:30 at the Health Resource Fair. Where is that? Town Hall. I'm sorry. Let me start again. The Wenham Board of Health announces the blood pressure clinics at Town Hall here tomorrow and March 11th between 3:30 and 5:30 in the afternoon. So at the Health Resource Fair, also on April 15th between 3:30 and 6:30 p.m. I should have started beginning because Harry didn't say anything to me. So we also invite people. Items not on the agenda, you can come up to the podium and that, do whatever you want to do.
Hi, Harriet Davis, Cherry Street. I'm Vice Chairman of the Wenham Historical Commission and the Wenham District Commission. And I want to call everybody's attention that there'll be a hearing Thursday at 6 o'clock on a proposal for a demolition delay law to be put forth at the annual meeting. This would ask for a 6-month delay, and we're really looking for public input and would appreciate people coming to that meeting on Thursday at 6 o'clock, or if you have any comments and you can't come, if you'd be kind enough to send them to Jackie in the permitting office. Thank you.
This Thursday, Harriet?
Sorry?
This Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday. Here?
Right here in
Yes, right here in Town Hall.
Okay.
It should probably in this room.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly received a lot of input a couple of years ago at the town meeting, and hopefully we can get, I don't know if it was broad-based input, but we certainly had people who weren't pleased with what was being proposed at the time. I think a year ago, 2 years ago, it was a 1-year delay supposed. Now it's a 6-month delay.
Yes.
Hopefully that'll ameliorate some of the issues, but who knows?
Thank you.
Okay, Town Administrator? Did I miss something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I give my report, Jackie just wanted to say a few things about the health screening clinic coming up, so.
So just to go a little further than Jack's announcement, so the Board of Health will be having blood pressure clinics tomorrow, this Wednesday, February 12th. This was prepared for tomorrow night. And then on March 11th between 3:30 and 5:30. But what we're really hoping to get folks, to get the word out about is our Health Resource Fair on April 15th. We're going to have members of our police and fire departments, our Council on Aging, our Wenham Connects group. We'll also have representatives from senior care and other health resources in the region. So if there's a health resource in the region that you don't get to see very often because of the distance, they will be coming here to Town Hall on that day, and that'll be sponsored by the Board of Health. And any questions, please get in touch with the Board of Health office. And also we're promoting our March 2020 health counts. It'll be in the COA newsletter, and there's more information on the website. But we do really want to see how many folks we can get out. We're trying to do more public health awareness and education. And unfortunately, Mary Beth couldn't be here tonight. Thank you all, though.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of Jackie? I guess.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Continuing on with my report now. So the town has hired Great Blue Research to conduct telephone and digital surveys And what we hope to do is gather information on the demand and additional opportunities, programs, and services within the community. So beginning on February 17th and running through March 6th, we'll be conducting phone surveys to residents, and we'll also have a, you can go to an online, through our website to answer the survey. So if you get a phone call from Great Blue, when you call our ID and it says Great Blue, it starts with 860, that's a person that's a company we hired, and we asked the residents, please take that opportunity to answer that call.
So they announced that it's authorized by the town.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, they
Great.
will. But, you know, when you see something, you see a lot of things on your caller ID, you hang up. We just want to let you know, you know, it'll go out on our website, it'll go on social media. Jackie, were we doing a mailing?
I'm sorry.
Were we doing a mailing to notify?
Postcard mailing.
Postcard mailing. So we're also going to do a postcard mailing to residents, just to let them know that please participate. We want to hear from you and get that feedback that's invaluable.
Well, without the postcards, other than the 15 people in this room right now and the 10 people who are watching TV, no one else is going to answer Deep Blue or whatever you just said. So the postcards would be very helpful for people to trigger that, okay, it's safe to answer the phone, because I would never answer had I not heard this.
No. And does Great Blue have the ability to bypass the spam filters? Because a call like that on my home phone would go directly to.
Would get cut off.
Would get cut off by my spam filter.
They do?
Yeah,
Jackie?
this is like what they do is the phone bank stuff. They've got that
I
technology.
keep getting assured that this is going to work. I think it's a great survey, and I'm very excited about doing citizens engagement, but I'm a little concerned about the phone part of it, especially since the first day is a holiday, and the first week is school vacation week.
We had long conversations.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I echoed your feelings about that too, but they said they have results with it,
Yeah,
so it doesn't hurt. We do have the online survey too.
Right.
So let's see what we get for
let's
results.
hope we get
and-
some good results.
Yeah,
Or a
and-
lot
and
of results.
A lot, yeah, and we'll present those results hopefully on, at the BOS meeting on March 24th. So,
I have a suggestion. Why don't you have Great Blue call the three of us up and you and 4 or 5 people in town hall to see if it actually goes through and people actually answer it. And it doesn't go to robocall or something else like that. We might as well find out now if there's going to be a problem. You're looking at me like I'm strange.
well, it's not gonna go to a robocall.
How do you know it's not? Have you tested
It's
it?
gonna come through as a Great Blue. As far as what Catherine's saying on spam, that's
Right.
one thing.
It probably will be caught on my spam filter on my
yeah.
home phone, but that, you can't.
I think what Jack is saying is there some way that we can?
We can ask them.
Test it.
Yeah, just I want a little
You
test.
can ask them, this is what this company does for a living, and,
But
Right, I assume they.
yeah.
You know, it's just, it'd be nice. I don't want to have you report a month from now. We only have 32 people in town and to actually responded because the other 400 didn't answer the phone. So why not have a little test? It's only, do it within 20 or less people. That's not bad. We can handle that, can't we, Jackie?
Sure thing.
There you go.
And we had a citizens engagement group here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked a little bit about, just in general, it was a conversation. We talked about this survey, and most of the people here who were from the Mothers Club, so younger, basically said they would, as long as they see that there's an online version, they would take it online. So if they get missed
Yeah.
in the phone call or they don't answer it, they're looking for an online version.
Right.
So as long as we have the ability for that, I think we'll capture those people,
Right.
which are the same
Some
people that
people
have
make-
the spam filters.
Yeah, and some people that get that postcard may still opt not to take that phone call and just go right to the survey, the link
Right.
on the postcard.
Right.
So,
I'm excited.
yeah, I think hopefully we get some good information back on it.
Anything that can connect the administration to the public, I think is
Good thing. Sure.
Catherine's point is incredibly important.
As long as you get representative feedback, that's right. And so I think it would be nice, for the third time, we should test to make sure that gets to go through.
Well, as Jackie said, this is a company that this is what they do. So I agree with you. A couple of test calls in Wenham, if it might be weird, isn't a bad idea. But I have to have faith that if this is what they do and they've pretty much guaranteed through contract that the X number of calls results.
If you weren't listening on TV tonight and weren't here, and you had a call
Oh,
from
no, I'm
Great
not-
Blue,
I'm not
are you going to answer
disagreeing
the
with
phone?
you. No.
No, either am I.
I'm one of those people that wouldn't answer, don't use my
Right.
landline.
So that,
but, But they apparently have some way to get people to give them results. So,
Congratulations, Mr. Willem, you've been awarded a prize to Bermuda if you answer the phone. I don't know.
at least it's
So
not,
please pick it up.
Yeah, right. Then I definitely would pick it up.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, I've said my recommendation.
The second thing that I want to mention is the town of Manchester asked us to participate in a peer town operations and cost comparison project. That project's being done by the MAPC, which is the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. There's 8 to 10 communities that's involved, and hopefully we want to get some useful data that can help make some budget decisions and recommendations for operational reforms and innovations.
So is this strictly budget-related, finance-related, or? is it-
Operational too.
Operational, okay, so fire, police, DPW,
Those are the 3 big departments that they concentrate on, and then we're gonna determine what other areas we may wanna branch into.
okay.
Manchester got a grant, we just are riding the
Oh, we're just
coattails of
tailing
this
into it.
grant, yeah.
Good.
So
No, that's fine.
anytime
Yeah.
we can get some free
yeah.
feedback, that's,
Do you have some idea of the time frame of when that information would be collated? Or a conclusion or a report would be written?
they're expecting to have it wrapped up by June, the whole
Oh.
project.
Okay, that's cool.
I was on a conference call today, so,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, to 4 months. We'll see. We'll
Always,
see on that.
always.
And the final thing that just want to mention, I'm actually going to yield my time to Mary Ann Cannon from Wenham Connects, who just wants to briefly discuss what Wenham Connects wants to propose as far as the Wenham Service Day.
Oh, great.
Thank you for coming, Marianne.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me. I heard that last month you wanted a few more details about our service day, and so here I am to do that. Since then, it has been downsized.
Happens.
I made the decision to downsize it because, and go for a larger body of organizations next year, May 2021, for the simple reason that we're a small committee, we've got a lot that's going on, and I don't have the man and woman power right now to do that. So what I'm going to do, and bring it up with the Wenham Connects Committee, is we've narrowed it down to 2 groups. One, we've been approached by the Cemetery Commissioner, Gary Cheeseman, if we would help clean up some of the veterans' graves on the 1A cemetery. And so that's in the works, and that's one project we will take on. I don't know about liability. We may have college students, we may have young people, we may have adults helping us for probably 2 hours. We've nailed it from 9 to 12 to 9 to 11. And I don't know about town liability or insurance, or if somebody falls or something like that. So at some point, I would like to hear about that.
Jim, what does clean up mean? Clean up the gravesites? What does that mean?
I think it means raking. He will come next week and tell us, but it means at least raking. I don't know if it means
Leaves or something like that,
yeah,
debris?
exactly. Perhaps putting stones back, depending on the grave.
Oh,
Okay, so
some heavy stones there.
a lot of people have stones on graves. Yes.
So so the purpose of this is, at least from what I've heard, for servicing the town's properties, I mean, the cemeteries, is there any residential part of this?
Not this year.
Okay.
We hope it will be next year. I've already talked to Boy Scouts about it, Girl Scouts about it, Gordon College about it, lots of people about it.
Troop
But
28 did have a
it-
program quite a few years ago when I was first involved. It would set a day or a weekend where if you got onto their list, they would come to your house and.
I don't believe it will be that narrow, excuse me,
Right,
Mr.
yeah, right.
Clemensby. I don't think it'll be
Yeah,
that
long
narrow,
time
because I
ago.
see seniors do that, and the high school does that, and other people
Right.
do that.
Right.
Yeah,
But if, the second group we're approaching is Mr. Tyak and the DPW, to see if there's cleanup on particular streets, not houses or residents, but that are junky, or there's litter, or something that's not particularly safe or
Oh.
pleasant to walk
Can
on.
we recommend something? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I've already had 2 streets, if you
I
want
was gonna
another
say,
one. So,
I got a great idea, but
So Mr. Cheeseman and Mr. Tyak, but I know Mr. Cheeseman does want to be part of it.
great.
And I think that's also, we're much smaller now.
Great.
I
Any
think
questions?
it's
Just get them
it-
to me.
Oh, thank you.
It's a good start, and I think it will raise visibility for what you're doing and get things going, and you'll get some idea of what could you do differently on a larger scale, so, great.
We want to call it
Anything-
next year Wenham Gives Back.
Yeah.
We just couldn't organize that.
I think it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
That concludes my report.
I don't have any addition to add. They can go right to the new business. We should start off with Catherine.
Okay, so this is the joint meeting with the Wenham Housing Authority for the purposes of a joint appointment for a member a position that's been vacated. Need a little guidance here for those of you who hang around Town Hall. We have 3 or 4 members of the Housing Authority here. We're supposed to be meeting jointly with them, so it feels logical that they would
Yes, I do.
come up.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll grab some chairs?
So,
If-
please, members of the Housing Authority who are in attendance, please come on up.
My understanding is the way this works is that there's a vacancy, and we have 2 candidates, and as they're coming up, I'll just explain that I think, yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes it's handy, right? We have 2 candidates who I believe are both here this evening, yeah. And so I think we're going to ask them up and have just a casual opportunity to speak with both of them, and then, if I'm correct, this will end up with all of us
Voting.
voting with a majority, and appointing the person who has the majority of the votes. Is that
So do we-
Nice to see
good summary?
everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So we have 4 members of the Housing Authority. Is there anyone else back there who's a member of the Housing Authority, didn't come up? You can come up?
That's it, just.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Director, okay.
Paula.
You're not a
She
member of
doesn't get to
the
vote.
authority itself?
No, she just gets to listen.
Okay.
So, I guess we'll do the interviews first.
Right, so we can just,
And
I
We have
believe Mark's here.
Mark Carleo. Mr. Carleo, if you would just come up, maybe spend a couple, yes,
Yeah, please.
please. That's the only way our huge at-home audience will be able to hear you, is through that microphone. If you
evening.
would just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to do this, and then we'll open it up to questions
Sure.
from anybody.
So I'll start. My name is Mark Carleo. I grew up in Hamilton, attended the Hamilton schools up until graduation.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, I
Awfully
went to school
familiar.
with Aaron. After that, I began my career, so I work in public health. Currently, I'm the Assistant Director of Public Health for the town of Danvers. Rely on volunteer members myself with our board. As of tomorrow, I actually take over as the acting director, as my boss of the last 18 years has finally retired. And so I've lived in Danvers for the past decade or so. January of last year, my wife and I finally found the right house in Wenham that was just perfect for us. And so we're living on Great Pond Road, absolutely fantastic neighborhood, right accessible to everything, but quiet, and especially at night. And it's taken me a little while. I've started graduate school. I'm working on a master's in public health to find the right fit. Time-wise, being able to make that commitment 100% and not miss meetings and do whatever is required of me. And because volunteerism is important to me. Like I said, I rely on volunteers at work myself, and the community is important. So I think that the Housing Authority Board is a good fit. It works with my sort of professional philosophies, where we talk about social determinants of health and these areas where there are certain intersections in life where, when they're appropriately addressed, create better health outcomes and longevity and happiness, quite frankly. And this is an important community, the residents themselves, that deserve, proper oversight and careful thought. Very lucky to have an incredibly brilliant executive director. I had the opportunity to meet with her for a couple of hours a few weeks ago just to get an introduction. Blown away by the amount of information she keeps in her head and can recite. It was amazing. So I guess with that, if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Just
Just one quick, have you taken out nomination papers for the?
Yep, I'm about halfway there on my 21 signatures, but yeah, I do plan to run for election, yep.
Yeah.
In your resume,
Mm-hmm.
you had mentioned that you had done inspections.
Yeah, so for the last 18 years, yeah, I've been the primary inspector for the town of Danvers. So that includes housing inspections under Chapter 2 of the Sanitary Code. We also did,
You worked with the health department over in Danvers.
yes,
I
so,
think I know your boss.
yep, Peter Morandi, yeah, so as of 11 o'clock today, I saw him out of the building, and,
Oh, he's retired?
yep, tomorrow morning, he heads to
For
Florida.
a long time now.
He has, yeah, it was 29 years with the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause he was just starting there when I first knew him.
Yeah, he just come out of the federal government at that point at USDC. So yeah, inspections, everything from housing, which is, a particular interest of mine. We also did, that I had started with the Housing Authority in Danvers, was the annual inspections for all of the occupants with Section 8 vouchers. Insurance, and as well as the prehabitation inspections. But then we also have, other contracted services and part-time inspectors that I would oversee that does all the routine inspections for, your restaurants and many, many other things.
Other questions? You have questions?
I'm all set.
What makes you particularly interested in the Wenham Housing Authority?
A few things. First is I would never take an appointment where I could not meet the commitment. So my understanding of the commitment, time-wise, would not be too burdensome for my own life, where my wife and I are trying to continue to fix up the house, as well as my graduate studies, because just missing those meetings is not acceptable. I serve on other executive boards for Mass Health Officers Association, and when people miss those meetings, it ties things up, decisions get held over. But otherwise, as I had mentioned, housing in particular is something that I care deeply about. Your home is a sanctuary, essentially. And if it's not safe, if it's unsanitary, and if somebody is not looking out for you, you have no sanctuary. And it sounds a little, spiritual, and I'm not intending it to take it that way, but that's where we all go at the end of the day when it's been difficult. And so to not have something like that just is totally unacceptable.
Have you visited the
I have.
Enon Village?
Yeah, I have. I've known and still know a few residents there through the years, and also we used to cut through there when I was kids to head up the tracks to Beverly or wherever. But yeah, I also had the opportunity, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, with Paula, and she took me through a few of the buildings, also through the building that very unfortunate fire, to see how the rehab was coming along there, and it was impressive. I've been through a lot of buildings owned by housing authorities. This one was incredibly well maintained. It was a very pleasant surprise.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, thank
Of
you
course,
for coming
thank you for your
by.
time.
Stepping up to the plate.
Of course.
We also have Kelly Schmidt. Thank you for coming, Kelly.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Kelly Schmidt, and we are newer to town. We came in June, and we live right on Main Street, so I've been in these rooms quite a few times working with the Historic Commission. I am a real estate agent, a licensed real estate agent in Massachusetts as well as Ohio, and housing is critically important to everybody in the states, where the median price per house for the state overall is $400,000, which is astronomical in my opinion. I'm from the Midwest. I just came from the Midwest, from Ohio, and the cost of living and housing is dramatically different. So I feel for people that are in this position, and it's a major issue as I see it. And Charlie Baker's he's got some challenges ahead of himself. But I want to be involved in the community. I have 2 young kids who are 8 and 9, second and third grade, and with my background in real estate and my passion and knowing what housing needs are, I wanted to get involved with the town to support it.
Thank you. Questions?
Any questions?
I'll ask you the same question. Have you taken out papers?
Yes, we have to.
Have you been to the facility, Enon Village?
I've been back there, but I haven't gone inside, no.
Other questions?
Nope.
You said you're interested in housing. Why in particular this committee? I mean, obviously it has something to do with housing, but it sort of has a very specific advisory role.
I want to make sure that the people in our community are taken care of, and that as people age and progress and down the line, that the continuation and respect that they gave to us as we were coming through, like, unlike people that have been here for ages, that they deserve the same in continuation.
So in reading your letter of interest, I'm always happy to see this, it looks as if you have several potential interests in addition to the Wenham Housing Authority, Open
Yes.
Space, Historic District Commission, et cetera, et cetera. So those are still, you'd consider those to be interests of yours as well?
Yes, I mean, just because I'm in the historic district, I'm right on Main Street. I live
Can't miss
in
that one.
the Yellow House, the Yellow Victorian, the Sharroks lived there for 58 years. So there's a lot of turnover on Main Street as well. Since and I have a feeling there's more to come in talking with one of the members of the board. So yes, I'm interested in that as well. But I don't know, I mean, they're two different animals. There's one is, preserving the historic essence, and one is caring for the people that need it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, how would you like to proceed with this?
So the Housing Board members had an opportunity to ask questions. Bruce did, and I guess no one else did. I think we should proceed to a vote. Should we read the motion, then ask them to vote, and then we'll vote too? It's a majority of the 7 of us, by the way.
Right, and if I'm correct, we can actually all vote together? Is that true? So,
Want to read the motion?
yeah, I'm just trying to think. So I guess I will read the motion with the name of the first person, and we'll see how many votes that person gets, and then if it's not,
Whatever.
if it's a majority, I think,
Somebody wants to, or you could just nominate, somebody wanted to nominate a candidate, and then just put that person's name in after.
Oh, yeah.
As
that's-
well.
that's probably-
and I think, I'm not trying to shirk my responsibility here, but the Housing Authority is not autonomous, but you know a lot more about what happens there than we do, or than I do. I guess I can't speak for my colleagues. So I would be interested to hear of the 2 candidates who you think would be the best fit. These are both obviously really good candidates,
In
you
other
know.
words, do they have a recommendation?
Yes, do you have a
Board have a
recommendation?
Yeah.
Let's-
And we can, to
And the
Anthony's
motion can
point.
come from a member of the Housing Authority, too. so.
I'm going to move it along. Move the Board of Selectmen and remaining members of the Wenham Housing Authority vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Section 121B, Section 5, C 4111, to appoint blank, to fill the vacancy of the Housing Authority Board until April 9th. This is only a 2-month, less than 2-month extension. So anyone in the Housing Authority?
So that was the easy part, Jack. The harder part is asking
I've
for.
done my job,
or-
Catherine.
No, actually, it was mine, but I'll give it to you. So
Well, it was-
does the board
too
have
long to get there.
have
The
a
ball's in your
recommendation?
Obviously, we haven't had a chance to sit down and make a recommendation
Okay.
as a board.
Yep,
So I would suggest that we go along with the original idea of just a convenient vote with everyone here.
okay,
Okay.
I mean, I can make a recommendation for the board, but I don't know what the board feels.
right, right. All right, well, let's go back to the original then. I'll make a motion to appoint the first person. We can talk about it, and if we need to, and vote, and see where that
Yeah,
goes.
I think that's the
Okay.
easiest way to do it.
So to Jack's motion, the Board of Selectmen and the remaining members of Wenham Housing Authority, I won't read the MGL again, to appoint Mark Carleo to fill the vacancy on the Housing Authority Board until April 9, 2020. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion?
Well, I think that he is a very qualified person, obviously is enthusiastic about joining the board, and the fact that it's only a 2-month appointment, and he has such a passion to join us, I think this is wonderful. We really are surprised, I am surprised, I didn't think anyone would step up for 2 months.
Yeah.
So, 2 very impressive candidates.
Mhm.
for other boards, and this is the one that he's particularly drawn to. I think that he would be my candidate. I agree.
Oh, I guess we can proceed right to a vote.
I think so.
Okay. All in favor of Mark Carleo as filling this position until April 2020, please raise your hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you both. And Kelly, please, are you still there? Yes. Please don't take this don't take this personally in any way. I think
Don't you dare go away.
for me, your background is a great fit for several of the other boards that you've expressed interest in, so please don't go too far away. I guess you live on Main Street, we know where to find you.
As well, some of your comments on housing, I know Catherine is very strongly invested that way, and so are I, about seeing that there's adequate housing for those who wish to live here or be here or stay, retain residence here, so.
Okay.
anytime.
The taxes and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do. And congratulations, Mark. And this is, I guess, effective now, as soon as whenever he is sworn in, which could be tomorrow if you'll visit the town clerk's office, right?
We have to sign some papers tonight, which you have, and then Nikki has, you have to be sworn in with the town clerk.
Sure, I'll just call her.
Well, after
Yeah,
we,
give her a call tomorrow.
she should have the papers tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you.
we've done it. Thank you guys for coming.
Well, thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Yes,
Great.
we never have this good of attendance, no matter
know.
what the subject is.
People were
I
really
was just trying to move it
interested.
along, Catherine, I wasn't trying.
I know. But I also know this is going to take a little.
You did mention that no one asked questions other than Bruce, but I did. So,
As did I. So there were a few questions. Okay, where are we?
What did you mean?
Well, you made the comment that nobody asked any questions. And that wasn't exactly, I don't think that's exactly what you meant.
No.
But that's what you said.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Okay. Who's got the next thing?
John? Let's let the, I'm going to wait a minute till the crowd clears. Yeah, you made an impressive presentation.
Grab a glass of water. I'm just going to be right. I'll be back before everybody. Yes, everybody else need water?
I'm going to get some water, too.
I'd love to get involved.
Thank you, Kelly.
John, you're up next.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm going to introduce you, John, and then you can take it from there.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right. Our next item is discussion on potential approval of a Little League shed at Pingree Park.
Yes, we
John.
have a request by the Little League to add a small shed building to the property. And,
Yes.
yes, I'm sorry, I think I've seen you before, but I don't know your name.
My name's Jay Herbson.
Jay Herbson. Nice-
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate your time.
I don't have a big introduction to you, but
Sure.
I will say that I've had many, many years of experience with your group.
Yeah.
And you have always retained yourself as very credible, solid, supportive community folks. So thank you for being here. I do have some questions, but I'll let you give
Sure.
a presentation first, and maybe that'll answer some of them.
Sure. So my name is Jay Herbson. I'm on the board of the Hamilton Wenham Little League. On behalf of Lou Levesque and Scott Ashwood, I've been sent here this evening. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. So the Hamilton Wenham Little League has been the beneficiary of a generous donation from Mastronzi and from Iron Tree Service of a field rake and mower, and we are looking for a structure to accommodate that gift. And so we're asking the town to please allow us to put a shed at Pingree Park adjacent to the current shed in the exact same dimensions. And the only difference between the current shed and this shed will be the dimensions of the door, which will be a little bit larger to accommodate the machine. So the shed that we're proposing will match the existing shed at 16 feet by 12 feet, and will look at, and be exactly the same color and same dimensions. And the placement will be adjacent to the shed that's currently at Pingree Park, across the road from the lavatory and from the main Cheeseman Field and batting cages adjacent.
So it's not on the field side, it's on the opposites.
Right.
Yes.
Across the
Yes.
road.
Yes, across the road in the trees.
Some questions I have. Maintenance, what's gonna happen with maintenance, short-term, long-term? If there's damage, repair, insurance, and what type of materials? Is that a cedar siding of some sort?
Yes, it is. It is with a stain. And so for long-term maintenance, the Hamilton Wyndham Little League will own the shed and will maintain it as we are maintaining this one. If over time it needs staining, we'll certainly stain it.
So you won't let it fall into disrepair?
No, indeed, no.
I didn't think so, but it always helps to,
Yes,
questions.
absolutely.
And then if for some reason, and I doubt it would ever happen, the league were to disband, whose responsibility is that building at that point?
I'm sure that is part, well, it's difficult for me to imagine Little League in the towns going away, but if that were to ever happen, I'm sure the town, we would have sort of a dissolution plan that would include dispensation of property.
So either
Right.
donate it back to the town or
Yeah.
demolish it? or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
Okay. So insurance would come under your insurance, not the
Yes.
town?
Yes.
Have you spoken with Bill Tyak on this subject?
I believe we have.
And I've spoken to Bill. Bill doesn't
You
have a
did.
problem with
Good.
what they request.
Good start. Now, what is it gonna sit on? Is it to just sit on the dirt? I don't care what you put there.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy thing for wood.
Right.
Is there gonna be at least a masonry or?
Yes, so Iron Tree and their largesse has followed up with also offering to lay a crushed stone foundation for the building.
Oh, okay, so John Mastronzi's involved.
Yes,
Good choice.
yeah, yeah.
So he's contributing the shed and the equipment?
The equipment, the shed is being paid for by the Little League.
Oh, wow. We're gonna give him another big attaboy, thank you.
Indeed, indeed.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
One small question.
Yes.
As a person who's always sensitive to the amount of sort of public and open space there is in our only park in town.
Yes, yes.
And the fact that we're adding another building, which I'm fine with, I get it. Is there one side or another of the existing building that would be least, I don't want to say obtrusive, but in a space that really couldn't be used for anything else, that would leave more space available? That's my only
Okay.
question. I see where you say you're going to put it.
Yes.
I drove down there, and I can't exactly remember what's on, looking at this
On
picture
the
on
other
the top,
side,
what's on the
Catherine, I
left.
think there's netting?
Yes.
So there's not enough space between the batting cages and that?
So we will look at that again.
Okay,
But in between that shed is the batting cage.
Right.
So I'm not sure if there's space between that shed and the batting cage, but if there is, we can look into it for sure.
and I don't feel strongly, except that is kind of dead space anyway.
Yes.
So to put a structure there would not really change. anything.
Okay, yeah.
Other than that, I thank you very much.
great, thank you.
I do have,
Yeah, thank you.
If I can just add, so the last time the Little League did the dugouts, there was a license to enter and use real property that we
Oh, yes, that's
completed.
right.
So
Yeah.
I took the liberty of drafting a new one with this structure.
Oh, put this amendment.
Yes.
Put this as an amendment.
So it's
to-
in the selectmen's package, should you choose to approve this tonight, we can execute that, and I worked with Scott
Yes.
Ashwood on this.
Great, great.
I have two small, sort of more in the nature of typos and that we can deal with later
Okay.
in the actual agreement. So, other than that, it looked fine to me.
One last question I have is, how extensive are you going to maintain the fields? I mean, is it going to just be the ball field itself? Are you going to go beyond that? I know you've spoken with Bill.
Yes.
I'm sure he's more than glad to unload some square footage for you to take care of.
Yes. So the piece of equipment has already attracted attention from the people who maintain ball fields, other ball fields in town, both at schools and at Patton Park. And so the machine will be used for those as well,
Okay,
for upgrading and grading those fields as well, raking.
thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions.
John, will you read the motion, please?
All right, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the license to enter into use real property with the Hamilton Wenham Little League to install a 16-foot by 12-foot shed that would be adjacent to their current shed at the Pingree Park, in Wenham.
I'll second that.
Any further questions?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for coming in.
Yes.
We'll scan that and get the copy too.
Great, thank you very much.
I gotta go all the way back to the beginning now again, all right.
Okay,
Let's see,
so we think we have,
If those kids come.
that's me. C, handbook. Anthony, why don't you take this one here? You know all about the
Sure.
handbook.
So the next thing, back in August, the board appointed Margaret Hoffman, our
Yes.
planning coordinator, to be the town's representative to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council,
MACP.
MAPC.
see,
So with that, they also asked, we met with them, and they said you can also designate alternate, just in case Margaret can't be there, and where Margaret is part-time, so I'll gladly, if the board wishes, that take that alternate position to make sure that we have representative at those meetings.
I see your offer, and I think that's wonderful. Just refresh my memory, who was doing it before Margaret? Was it,
Peter?
oh, Peter did it.
And I did it before that.
Oh, okay. I was trying to remember the history on it, and I was drawing a blank. Okay,
Tanis.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with them.
Great.
did we give you any choice?
No.
He volunteered.
We haven't-
Volunteer.
we haven't-
He-
I know.
No
He
one
all
twisted his
stepped
arm,
back
so.
and
No,
he
it's a-
stayed still.
I think it's I believe it's an area that you are already sort of involved in and
I am, I
kind
would
of
attend
fits
those
with-
meetings should
right.
something come up anyway.
So we
it just
appreciate your
makes sense.
volunteerism.
How often do they meet?
It's like once a quarter or something.
Yeah, it's not too much. We have a North Shore Coalition of
Yes.
managers and mayors that we meet more frequently, once a month, but the MAPC might be a quarterly meeting.
All righty.
All
So,
right,
John's
That's
got
Mike.
John's got the
I
motion?
believe it's me.
Okay,
That's
John
what
on
the,
my,
if you wish,
okay. Sorry, I'm just
well,
looking at
I
mine.
was looking at my,
we can arm wrestle.
whatever it says on my,
Well, my agenda says John,
Right.
but
interesting.
I don't
Let me
think
go
it
back.
matters.
No, hold it, I don't want to go forward yet. I want to see.
Harriet, did Paul Vidonsa once do it?
Did he do it?
Either
Well, he
or
did the,
Don,
Says C is JW.
But we're on, actually on D,
Yeah, right.
oh, that's right, that's right, yep.
just saying.
John, it is yours.
Okay.
You win.
All right,
You
I
win.
move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law C 40B and 24 to appoint Anthony M. Ansaldi Jr. as the Town of Wenham's alternate representative for the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, known as MAPC, from February 11th, 2020 to June 30, 2022.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously for Anthony.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you, Anthony.
Gracias.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Now it's you, Catherine.
Well, okay. Are we doing C? Or are we skipping it? I don't care, I just, or do you want me to go to E?
We are on E, right?
We just did
Right.
D.
Well, E is after D. What do you mean?
Well, we didn't do C,
We didn't do C.
did we?
No.
Okay,
That's what I thought.
Skipped over
That's
C.
why I was confused a minute ago.
right. And that's your.
And that's why I tripped it to Anthony. Okay, discussion of potential approval of policy, okay. Why don't you take that one, Anthony, too?
Sure.
We discussed it today, but go ahead.
Sure. So the employee handbook hasn't been updated
How
for
do we
the
get to
most
D
part
before
since
C?
a lot of the policies since 1997. So when we just went through the training for anti-discrimination harassment policy with KP Law that we just had all the employees and boards and committees do, notice that that was one of those policies that actually referred to the town administrator. I think it was Steve Delaney back then.
Oh, yeah,
think
one,
that
two,
was,
three, 4 administrators ago?
Yes, so a lot of things have changed since
was a while
Steve
ago.
Delaney's been the town administrator here, so I took the opportunity to work with KP Law on these two policies to update the equal employment opportunity, anti-discrimination harassment, which includes our sexual harassment policy, as well as something that we haven't had, which is electronic communications and information technology acceptable use policy, which is in today's day and age with a lot of these hackers trying to actually hijack municipalities' data. We have to make sure that we safeguard as much as humanly possible our computer programs and have a policy on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable to use our equipment. So these are the two policies right now that I'd like to schedule a hearing on because our town bylaw requires us to have a hearing, and of which, so we will advertise, and bless you, and have a hearing at a later point in time. I think we have it March, I think we.
Yeah,
it's on
I'll
the
have a
motion.
question about that when we get to it.
Actually, at this point, I'm working on another policy too, an FMLA policy that will probably come before the board the next time, because that's another one where we really didn't have a policy on. Of course, we would always adhere to state and federal laws, but it's nice to have our own policy on that and form. So, working on that one as well. So, you know, I think that the best approach with the employee handbook is to do it, update it, period, as we make these changes and review it. To try to tackle it all, it just, I think Peter had tried to do that, and he found himself just, it's a lot to finish the job. So I'd like to piecemeal it this way and at least get some policies updated as soon as possible. So these are the two that we have ready to go right now. That's in the packet for the selectmen to review. And certainly if there's any questions, again, town council has vetted these policies. And that's it, if there's any questions.
No, I have a comment. I've talked to Anthony extensively about the electronic communications information technology usage policy, and that I was pleased to see that in this draft policy, there are some restrictions for employees about accessing Facebook, personal emails, so forth. Phishing is the most common way people try to hack into government buildings and towns and so forth, and small towns across the country, the most often hacked of any institutions. So I was glad to see that we have something in there that addresses that. And we also had some good news from, I read on the Wall Street Journal about 2 weeks ago that everyone knows that, not everyone knows, but most people know that Windows has stopped supporting Windows 7. However, in an article in the Journal, it had an exception to it. If you're a government entity and you paid for 2 years a fee, I'm not sure what the fee is, they would continue to support for updates, and particularly security updates for your Windows 7 computers if you pay for that, and that Anthony brought that back to our IT people, and they confirmed that was true. So that it's good news, and we'll be able to, once we find out what the fee schedule is and pay for it, and get our computers hooked up with Microsoft for that, we have another 2 years, or almost year and 10 months worth of future security alerts. So that's good news. So that it's a little worrisome to know that you don't have any security updates on your computers. Very worrisome, I think. And so that has we got back to you on the fee schedule or anything else like that yet?
No, he sent the email today. He said he'll get back to us as soon as he gets that information, soon.
Yeah, I hope it's real soon. So, yeah, so that there was extensive, okay. So, yeah, I'm pleased. So where is is there a vote here?
Yeah,
It's just a motion to conduct the public hearing.
Yeah. Move the Board of Selectmen vote to conduct a public hearing to adopt and/or make changes to the following town's personnel policies. A, or dot, equal employment opportunity, anti-discrimination and harassment, including sexual harassment policy. 2, electronic communications and information technology acceptable usage policy. Said hearing to be held on Monday, March 2nd, 2020, at 6:30 p.m. in the multi-purpose room at Buca Elementary School. We must be expecting a lot of people. 1 School Street, Wenham, Mass. 01984.
No, that's because March 3rd is the presidential election.
Oh, that's
Obviously,
right,
We had to
yeah.
move our meeting to Butte.
Oh, that's right. I remember that
Primary,
now.
yes.
I remember that now.
Yeah, that's.
Do I hear a
We're not
second?
expecting a big crowd.
Do I hear a
Second
Just
the motion,
Harriet.
Jack,
further discussion? Comments?
all set.
No. I'm looking to my left.
Yeah, I have no questions. That is a conflict at 6:30 with a meeting that I have at 7. So I won't be here for the hearing, but I trust that it will either be televised or you guys will catch me up on.
Well, it may just last less than a half an hour.
Maybe. Depends on how many people. But yeah, I'm fine with that. What I have, this matches now. I was going to comment that Tuesday, March 2nd is what I had. But it's Monday, March 2nd is the date for the hearing.
It's for the day for the hearing, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have no.
Further
thanks for
discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Unanimous. We're going to have, when we have this meeting, is it just going to be on something like this on a screen, or is it going to be handouts? What do you envision?
We can make the policies available on the town's website. I
Okay.
don't want to waste too much paper. We
Yeah,
could have
okay.
a couple of copies present, but
Okay,
I would just envision, if anybody has any comments or anything, to just
fine.
Let you know.
let us know, sure.
Yep, fine. I think
We'll
it's
get
fine.
this out to all staff.
Okay, Catherine, back to you again.
Okay, so item E is, has to do with reviewing potential voting to place several draft articles on the warrant. I'd like to make a request before we get any further, and that is that since there are 3, that we might not all have the same opinion on all 3, and that we make it just as 3 motions. So the move motion 1, motion 2, and motion 3, that okay? And so we'll
Here's
start
me.
with
Is that okay
motion.
with you, John?
To,
Catherine wants to
Separate
break up
motions.
1, 2, and 3 to
oh,
3
break
separate
them up.
motions.
Right, just
Oh,
3
okay.
separate
It's okay with me, is it okay with you?
Break it up, yes,
Fine.
please.
So I'll ask Anthony, if you would, please, to just explain to us what I'm calling motion 1 for the local sales tax for meals.
Sure. So there is a option for municipalities to adopt a 0.75%, so less than 1% meals tax. So Wenham has not adopted the law, so therefore I took the liberty of gathering information from the Department of Revenue's excuse me, Municipal Data Bank, and it stopped at 2017 because at that point, a lot of communities had already jumped aboard, so there was less interest for, I think, the department to capture the last 3 calendar, 2.5 calendar years, almost 3 calendar years. So right now, the last completed year we have is 2016, where if Wenham did adopt it back then, that would have made another almost $13,000 would have came back to the town. So, you know, 2017, as you can see, just the month of January alone was a large month. I don't know why, but that was almost half. So there's no way to really project what it could be, but assuming that it only grows, I would expect maybe that number to be up in the 15,000 mark by now, maybe even more. Considering our trying to look for new revenues, this is a great option that is really no heavy lifting for us other than to town meeting to take the vote. We issue the notification to the Department of Revenue, and then 30 days later, they'll start sending that money back to the town.
And where did these projections come from?
Department of Revenue.
So they must have looked,
They know who we have in town that may be potential.
Everybody,
Candidates for
everybody that sells meals has to be
So
registered with the
Grassy
Department of
Roots,
Revenue, right?
The Tea House.
Yes. Bagel shop.
Yes, right.
there are a lot of exemptions. So that made me wonder, not a lot, there are exemptions. That made me wonder what institutions in town would actually be paying this. Obviously, Tea House and Grassy Roots, but not, for instance, anything that's done at Gordon, even though it might be a commercial entity that's selling food, because it's at Gordon, it's exempt.
No,
It's not exempt.
no, I would say that no. If Gordon's selling meals to employees and so forth, those are taxable.
Yes.
Well, the only reason, it says education, the exemptions, educational institutions that have a regular faculty curriculum and enrolled students.
But if you sell food to other people other than in the normal course of being a college and sending, you have to pay meals tax on that too, if you're required to do so.
Well, it makes sense, because I don't know how we get to 15,000, or even
You
those
couldn't.
numbers on
It
the
has to-
DRO,
Gordon has to
DOR
be
with.
included with those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and several of those didn't even exist. You know, like Grassy Roots didn't even exist when
Bagel
they
shop
first.
didn't, certainly.
No,
Right.
there was a pizza shop. Is there a pizza shop before?
Right, it was a pizza shop.
Yes, there was.
Yeah,
It
there was
didn't
a-
last long,
they-
about a year or
So it has to be a lot of Gordon, I would assume, in that, considering.
The Tea House must be up there too.
That's up there, but with those numbers, I'd be guessing it's.
Now, what about,
Gordon.
some of us call it chuck wagons, you know,
Food trucks?
the food trucks, thank you, that's,
So,
is that
those are
some-
transient, so I think that, I used to know this when I was at the Department of Revenue, but I believe it's, the way that those are operate is that they, in the community that they're registered, that would go towards them.
So if they're from Salem. or
Unless it's
wherever.
changed by then. Again, this is my years
I
ago
I
being
have
an
no
auditor.
idea.
Yeah.
No, I'm not too keen on this concept, simply because having been a small businessman for many years and dealt with simply sales tax, this has got to become an absolute annoyance to the few little food facilities that we have here in town. I'd almost like to get a sense from those folks what their feeling is.
Well, I'm sure they're gonna say no. Why would they wanna pay more money?
Well, they're already paying
Well, they
whatever
don't
it
have to
is.
pay it, they have to collect it, though.
Right.
They
Yeah.
become, again, unpaid tax
Well,
collectors.
you know, it's.
They're already doing it now.
Hmm?
They're already doing it now.
Where, in Wenham?
Yeah, because they're
Grassy
doing it to
Roots?
give back to the Commonwealth. So all we're doing is getting Wenham's share. They collect the meals tax. The Commonwealth's getting their share. We're just getting an extra
Oh, so this is
0.75%.
not-
This
Okay,
isn't
it's not
something
pie in the
new.
sky that
This
somebody-
is
This
just
is-
adding
adds
additional
to the sales tax.
0.75, which is less than 1%,
Right.
to the existing, what they're existing already doing.
So they have-
They're sending the money to the Commonwealth. So
Okay.
this way,
Shows you how often they go out.
yeah, so
Well,
this way, it's a nice, you know, it's a nice opportunity to collect, you know, we do provide services, trash services that,
So that basically, I think what this means is when you get a tab from one of these places or you know, a receipt, it will say a number for a sales tax, and it will say some state sales tax, and it'll have another line on it that's local sales tax
Local-
at
local state.
Or might be combined, I
0.75%.
don't know.
I don't think they can combine them, at least the ones I've seen don't, but either way,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
just,
Seen
Well, thank
restaurants
you, thank you
separate
for the
them.
clarity.
Yeah,
because
and-
I did not know this already existed.
Yeah, they're already doing it.
Okay. I'm less hesitant now. I don't see, no. I guess I'd go along with it.
so just to, this is a motion to insert the article onto the warrant. Are we, did I make them, I haven't made the motion yet.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the following article onto the warrant for the April 4th, 2020 annual/special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council meeting. This motion number 1 is for local sales tax for meals, Chapter 64L, Section 2, 0.75%. Is there a
Second.
Okay, is there further discussion?
No, thank you.
If not, all in favor of putting this on the warrant?
Aye?
Aye.
I would request, though, if possible, you could get from the DOR. I think community members and institutions might ask which, so before town meeting, maybe you can find out which groups or which businesses in town this would apply to.
Yeah.
And the DOR should be able to tell you, right? Since they're,
It's any organization that's registered with the state. I don't know what, there's certain information that they can and cannot do. So, just like your own personal income tax, they don't divulge that information. So if we're asking them if they're registered or not,
well, I just feel like if I were a business in town, it's not a lot of money, but it is something that they have to do. We're going to have to notify them that they're now going to have to do
Department of Revenue will notify
that.
them. We have to do zero, other than take them over to town meeting, Department of Revenue handles everything else.
But for the board's knowledge, I think Catherine's on the right track.
Oh, I don't know if I can get that information, if they give it to me, but if they
should
do,
share it
I'll
with us,
certainly share it
yes.
with you.
Just so we don't get surprised by something we couldn't even thought of at First Church, you know.
I can make that
If you can
request. I don't
find
know
that
if-
out, information, that would be useful. So the second article for potentially being put on the warrant has to do with local occupancy excise tax of 6%. I'll ask Anthony to
So this is
speak to that one.
basically the same thing. If somebody is registered for room occupancy, they're already sending money to the state for room occupancy tax. Massachusetts has adopted the local option for communities to also be able to include a 6% fee to get some of that money back to the towns. So, in your packet, there's a list of those that have adopted this. With the new short-term rentals that the governor signed into law in July, short-term rentals are now part of that. So if there's Airbnbs, if there's people that are renting houses, and, you know, you'd be surprised when you go on there and you look and you find out, you just type in a community and they pop up. So this would allow those, they have to be registered with the state. So we would, just like the meals, they would add on 6%, and the Department of Revenue would send that money back to us. So they would collect it from the people that are staying there, and
So they're already.
They're already doing
The
it.
Commonwealth Mass DOR is already doing this.
yes, they're already collecting.
Had my
remarks.
plenty fill
And
of
hopefully we
DOR
can,
with sales tax
yeah,
and income tax.
hopefully we can maybe get a hotel at Boulder Lane and.
Yeah,
some of
there
our
we go.
budget.
So I have just one question on that. The statute, or the notes here, say that the tax cannot be more than 6%.
Right,
So we would have to propose in the motion exactly
the percentage,
the
right.
percentage.
So, right. So
And
when
you're saying 6%. I mean,
Up
that's,
to 6, it could be up to the board. Like I showed you in the packet, probably about 95% of the communities opt to take the full advantage of the 6%.
okay.
There are some smaller communities, for whatever reason, do 4%. I don't think, it's either 4 or 6 that I saw, and like I said, 90% are the 6%. And larger communities like a Boston and Cambridge could even add more to that. But
Okay. I just
We
wanted
just-
to be
we
clear
would
on
just-
what we were
I would,
proposing.
if you're asking for my recommendation, I would try to go for the 6%.
So, are we ready for a motion on that one? I I can get back to it. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the following article onto the warrant for the annual town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. The second one is local occupancy excise tax, Chapter 64G, Section 3A, proposal at 6%. Is there a
Second? Second?
more discussion?
No question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, the last one has to do with the treasurer collector education stipend. Anthony, please?
Sure. So this is another opportunity where treasurer and collectors in the state of Massachusetts, their association, if they become certified treasurer collectors, which is a long process and it's very cumbersome and it's time-consuming, the law allows them to get an additional $1,000 a year stipend. Looking at other communities, they do this. I think that this is a great opportunity to encourage our treasurer collector to become certified as a treasurer collector, to keep our staff at the optimum level, and therefore just that would be a stipend that she would get every year
From us.
from us.
Why would you, we could, whether or not our treasurer collector was, we can always give another $1,000 raise. So I don't understand the point of this whole article. We could choose next week to increase the treasurer collector by $1,000 or any other amount of money. So what's the point of this?
It's to reward an employee for getting certified.
We can do that without adopting this right here.
This is a requirement.
This would be.
We can give a $1,000 increase.
I agree with you, but this particular thing would require us to give up to
By
$1,000.
adopting this measure, then we're
If I'm
required
reading this
to-
right. If this person is certified, then the town
guarant-
shall receive additional compensation.
Yeah, it's a guarantee that somebody's, an employee's gonna make that type of commitment, that they know that at least they're gonna be rewarded for it. Whereas,
Even if
the board turns over from year to year, there's no guarantee, so they could work really hard for 2 years to get that certification, and then maintain that certification with continuing education, so they know that they're at least, it doesn't matter, depending on the board, that they've earned that by getting that certification.
Their salary is going to depend upon the board, because we review this every year. But anyway, I think it's silly. But I'm not against it. I think it's, if the state was paying for it, that's great. But, if we're just going to guarantee somebody an extra $1,000 to do all this stuff,
Jackie,
fine.
did we adopt something like this with the town clerk?
We do currently have this for our town clerk. To be a certified municipal clerk, they get an extra 1,000.
Is there a statute that requires us to give them 1,000 that we have adopted?
I'm not sure if you adopted it as a board or if it was adopted by town meeting. It was a little before my time, so I'm not sure, but we do have that provision. I can look it up for you.
Yeah, if you would, it'd be helpful, I think. It doesn't ring a bell with me, but maybe you did.
I have mixed feelings about this. I think certainly an incentive to get a certification is really important, and I would hope that
I
this
agree.
board or other boards would provide that kind of incentive. Just in general, not for this one, but in general, having the state tell us that we have to do something always rubs me the wrong way, but that's sort of a general, I see the point of,
That part, too.
right? But I see the point that this, if someone's going to do the work, get the certification, they're sort of at the, even more, I guess, at the will of the
So
people
then
who are
they
making the
would have to
decisions for selling.
maintain that status each year.
In our written agreement with the treasurer collector, we can always put in there, okay, if you achieve this certification, you'll automatically be eligible for another $1,000 a year without going through the town and everything else like that.
We don't do, just so you know, we don't do a contract with the treasurer collector.
But we could put something in writing to the treasurer collector saying, look, by the way, we're not going to go through this rigmarole. Nevertheless, if you pass this and you become certified, we'll give you an extra $1,000 a year. I'm just saying, that
Whatever you want to do.
I'm going to vote for this of my two legs. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. Not that this person would deserve another $1,000. We have to go through this. Anyway.
I like the idea, but we have to be committed to it, I think, especially now that we're in the we've just hired a treasurer collector. I like the idea of codifying or, memorializing that this is going to be a stipend, whether it's a contract or
We
something
can write a
else,
memo tomorrow
locally, and
and
not,
put it in the file.
not having the state mandate it. But and by doing that, I guess that has whatever life we put on it.
2021.
Well, no, I mean, I think this, if I'm reading this right, this stipend that this Chapter 41 refers to is a stipend that that person gets every year that they maintain their certification, as long as they work here.
Require and maintain.
So I guess that's, to be equitable, that's what the memo would have to say. The employment, whatever that is, agreement.
Does seem a little goofy, but it's all right.
Well, so, anyway, I do agree with Jack on this. I think it's a good thing to do. I think we should make a commitment to do it within the town and not as part of a statute. But
I'm fine with whatever you guys.
I will,
Whatever you two want to do is fine with me.
You know, we don't, yes, good, because now we don't have to explain this at town meeting. And somebody's gonna- Well, someone's gonna
There
say,
we
well,
go.
how about Bill Tyak? If he is a certified such and such, or the head of the water department, Eric, you know, I mean, why are we picking on this person here, and that, are there other statutes we're not aware of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You know,
There'd be 15 more coming.
well, that was going to be my
I get you.
offline question, actually.
I wouldn't want to get up and, I'll defer to, if we pass this, you know, that we don't have a good answer to that question, and that, you know, I don't have any problem with making a commitment for the files, and the minutes can reflect this, that if our treasurer collector gets certified, we'd be pleased to offer the $1,000 increase, annual increase for $1,000 as long as they blah, blah, blah. You know, whoever that person is, so that in the files.
So perhaps part of this particular motion could be, I guess what we're saying is we would
Drop it.
not vote to insert this, provided, into the warrant, provided that a memo with the same information in the town is, and ask Anthony to write that up and have it for us.
Right.
Okay, I don't know what that motion says, but I will move. I think we're going to make the motion in the positive, and we'll see how the vote. This motion would be that the Board of Selectmen, well, what do you think of this, guys? I move that the Board of Selectmen vote not to insert the following article onto the warrant for April 4th town meeting, conditioned upon the town administrator and the selectmen executing a document that provides for the same compensation upon certification.
I don't want to complicate your life, but you wanted to make this 3 motions. This is actually 1 motion.
This is the third motion of the 3 that we made the first 2.
Right.
I know.
first two of
Yeah.
I know. Yes,
And that's
right.
why I
You
was,
broke it up into 3.
I broke it up so that we could just vote on this one separately, or all of them separately,
I
in case
got it,
we
yeah.
liked 2 and didn't like 1.
Okay,
So the motion could be,
we'll do the first 2, not the third.
we
and-
did the first one, we passed the first one, we put the second one on the warrant.
And we're not going to pass the third, but we're going to have something in our minutes of the meeting.
Right, and I was trying to state a motion to that effect,
I think we got it,
okay?
even though we don't have a
Well, it's a
scribe here
motion.
doing it.
No, hopefully she'll, as the clerk, she'll watch it, and if she doesn't get it, then
Right.
she'll ask. So we need a second on that motion to
Second that.
not place this, but also have a memo.
Second,
Second.
third, whatever.
Okay, is there,
No further questions.
any further questions? Okay,
pen.
so this is a motion, so all in favor of not inserting this, but writing a memo in the town instead? That's,
I agree.
Aye.
Aye.
okay. Catherine, I hope you're watching carefully. That takes care of
She
the.
was here earlier, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
she?
she had, I believe, I didn't actually see her leave, and I apologize, but she had a Concom meeting, so, which I assume that they're not.
Selectmen, Concom, Selectmen,
Well, I think they're
Concom, I
not-
guess the Concom wins.
Well, they're probably not televised, so she has no option.
Again.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there, so I'll-
Second.
Aye.
Whatever, I'm just trying to sign
all in
something.
favor?
I can't sign something, and I agree.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.